So I got to play the latest build of Marvel Tokon, and I'm not gonna lie to y'all, we gotta talk. I played roughly a little over 2 hours of it at one of the biggest annual fighting game tournaments, Combo Breaker, where so many people stood in line to play the demo and even shared their thoughts with me. Also, keep in mind that this is not a final judgment call on the game. Marvel Tokon has not been released yet, so anything can change within the next few months. And despite me playing hours upon hours of the closed betas, and now playing the latest build at Combo Breaker, I don't have a perfectly full picture of the game because of not having any training mode to work with, but even if a picture isn't full, you can still see the rest of it and have a really good idea of what the picture is showing. Keep in mind that I've been really excited about this game ever since they announced it. If you're new to the channel, hi, my name is SSK. For the past 9 months, I've been making Marvel Tokon videos weekly, analyzing gameplay footage, sharing guides for the betas, making theories about the story mode and roster, pointing out discoveries some players made about mechanics, and so much more every week. So while it's pretty clear I have a huge passion for this game, an important question has to be answered. Has the game truly improved since the previous closed betas? Well, ladies and gentlemen, sit back, grab a snack, and relax because I'm going to share my thoughts on the latest build of Marvel Tokon. This video will be split into 3 parts: the overall presentation of the event, my thoughts on Black Panther, and my overall opinion on the current state of the game, where I discuss what I like and dislike. So let's get started. Starting things off, I need to talk about the overall presentation of the event. The way this booth was run really surprised me, particularly with how professional it was. Despite hundreds of people entering the line to play the game, the staff members made the process very smooth. There was a total of 12 setups containing the game, with each side having 2 PS5 controllers, 2 arcade sticks, and 2 leverless controllers. A pretty fair amount, but I will say, there were a lot of leverless users at the event. It might not be a bad idea for the staff members to have more leverless setups at EVO and any other event the game would be at before its release. There was also 1 character pin on each player's side that they could have. Each time you play the game, you will get a random pin. Sometimes you might keep getting the same one over and over, and it made players want to trade with each other for different pins. Personally, I was playing Tokon all weekend, every hour the game was available, so I ended up collecting them all. Now Arxus, I demand that you put Howard the Duck in the game so that I can get a Howard pin. Thank you in advance. But anyway, we were all given 10 minutes of playtime, and when it ended, we were guided by staff to either leave the booth or provide feedback on what people felt about the game and what they wanted changed, added, etc. There were a couple of PlayStation officials there, including one of the producers of Marvel Tokon, Reed Baird, who was very serious about wanting people to share their thoughts about the game. One of the PlayStation officials there was an awesome lady who had a whole notebook on her lap, just writing so much of what people were saying. I'm talking pages and pages of stuff. To add on to this, I actually had a chance to talk to Reed Baird and one of the other PlayStation staff who even told me that they listened to all of the feedback people have shared for the past few months. YouTube videos, Discord comments, Reddit posts, guys, they know everything. Mr. Baird himself even told me that my videos appear on his feed all the time. I just wanted to point this out because people need to know that everyone involved with the creation of Marvel Tokon don't want it to fail. Creating this healthy relationship between players and developers is so important, especially in this day and age where post-release updates and social media are a thing. We're a lot more connected to these developers than you might think. So to any of the Marvel Tokon staff who are watching this video, thank you. Y'all are doing amazing work. Alright, now let's start talking about Black Panther. In case some of you don't know, she was actually playable in this build, and let me tell you, she is fun. I won't go too in depth on her moveset as I'll save that for another time, but I will talk about her biggest strength, movement. So Black Panther has a unique meter for herself called the Boss Blessing gauge, which can be increased either by using her special moves or by charging it through holding back and the heavy attack button at the same time. When she gets a bar of this meter, she can press different variations of the unique button to get really cool dashes. Moreover, when you have more than 1 bar of the meter, you will have the ability to cancel dashes into the same dash you use or other dashes. I mostly experimented with the first variation of the dash, which is performed by pressing the unique button itself. This particular dash is a hop and can be used offensively to continue combos or start high-low mix-ups and even bait a symbol counter. If you ever played Granblue, it's pretty much like Matera's hop. Now for the other variations of the dashes, like the back and down versions, while I didn't get to mess around with them much to really understand what you want to use them for, do remember that you can cancel these dashes into other dashes, so there's definitely a lot of maneuvering you can do around the stage to avoid and bait the opponent's attacks. And to top it off, she has an install super that not only instantly fills her Boss Blessings meter to completion, but the meter decreases for a certain amount of time. Throughout this, you can do an infinite amount of dashes until the meter goes back to 0. 0. I didn't really think about it until recently, but I can actually see Black Panther being the quote-unquote ninja of the game. With tons of movement and daggers that you can basically call kunai, she feels like the right fit for someone who likes characters such as Akali in 2SKO, Chip in Guilty Gear, etc. And that's the thing about Marvel Tokon. Every character in this game feels different. With a 20-character launch roster and we've only seen 13 of them, there's already so much diversity in how the cast plays. It was honestly the reason why I didn't get to fully warm up with all the new characters that weekend. Even though Tokon's cast feels pretty easy on a basic level, to the point where anyone can just pick up and play, really, trying to create a detailed game plan with them takes a bit of time. Don't get me wrong though, this is excellent because it shows that the game is easy to get into, but takes time to master due to having tons of depth. But it doesn't stop there because the game is now way deeper thanks to the recent change where you can finally use the assemble gauge to activate your neutral assist during combos and pressure. During the betas, you weren't able to use the assemble gauge to cancel it to your neutral assist during offense because, well, they were only able to use when you were standing still, aka the neutral state. The only assist you were able to use the assemble gauge for during offense was the rush assist, and this made combos and pressure look very samey. I always felt like the neutral assists were so cool and that it would be a missed opportunity not to allow us to use them in situations other than neutral. But with this new Tokon build, offense is now extremely creative as you no longer are limited to using the rush assist. It's very refreshing to see that the developers gave us more opportunities to use these neutral assists. What makes this whole situation fascinating is that during the previous betas, players found ways to use neutral assist in combos without actually using the assemble gauge. Due to use of wall splats, after tagging, and other situations where you have the opportunity to stand still while the opponent is being comboed, you have the opportunity to use these neutral assists within your combos without using the assemble meter. So resource management is a huge part of Marvel Tokon's gameplay because you need to save your assemble gauge for defensive mechanics too. So going for meterless neutral assist combos at times isn't a bad idea. This is what fighting games are about, always getting your brain thinking. Getting into the next thing I really liked about this build, the addition of hard knockdowns. Whenever you wall broke the opponent in previous Marvel Tokon betas, the situation would reset to neutral rather than letting you continue applying pressure on the opponent. So the person who activated the wall break in the first place completely loses momentum, and that wasn't something I really liked about the game. Well, kinda. To tell you the truth, I was one of the people who didn't mind wall breaks being in Tokon, as you do get some rewards with it like an extra character, recoverable health, and an increase in your super and EX meter. However, I always wish that the developers would change it so that after you get these wall breaks, you can get a free media attack on the opponent to maintain the advantage you started. And boy, am I glad to see it is finally in the game thanks to all the feedback. No more resetting to neutral, just pure momentum. But there's another way I'm looking at this. As stated previously, you always reset to neutral whenever a wall break occurs in the past betas. On top of that, each stage in the game has different parts, with some longer than others. The strategy with stages at the time was that on shorter stages like X mentioned, snowball teams get to thrive so greatly. One clean hit leads to corner pressure, momentum, and the match can spiral fast. On medium stages like New York, you start rewarding balanced teams, characters that can convert mid-screen, assists that help both neutral and pressure, and players who can stay consistent over longer exchanges. Basically, any kind of team comp can work on this stage. And on really long stages like Savage Land, the game suddenly shifts towards control and stability. Because rushdown teams are asked to win neutral more times on these types of stages, zoning teams become way more effective and comfortable. So, to sum it up, the shorter stages, the more effective it is for aggressive teams, and the longer stages, the more effective it is for defensive teams. So stage length wasn't just cosmetic, it quietly shaped what kind of teams felt optimal. This led me to believe that Tokon would be very stage counterpick heavy, similar to how competitive Smash Bros is. But now that hard knockdowns have been implemented after every wall break, this strategy doesn't really exist anymore. So I'm very curious how stages are going to affect the current balance of this game. If any of you have potential strategies in mind, let me know in the comments below. But speaking of comments, I know many of you have quite the opinions on this game in regards to Tokon feeling like a 1v1 game with assists, and I actually want to talk about that a bit. Let's just get this out of the way. The overall goal of Marvel Tokon is to make players not feel like they have to learn more than one character. There is only one health bar rather than 4 for each character, so of course, it can be played like a 1v1 game with assists. Keyword, it can be. Despite what some of you may think, there are still incentives to tag. As I stated before, you can active tag to get some of these neutral assists within your combos meterlessly to be smart with your resource management, and you can also tag to start some really cool left-right mix-ups. There's also some high-low mix-ups you can do as well, but keep in mind that you have to call in assist mid-pressure, do a special move that lasts a long time, then active tag it to the assist character and do some overhead or low attack with them. So yes, there are actually incentives to tag in this game, but you can also play it like a 1v1 game with assists. That's the beautiful thing about this game. You can play the way how you want, and I'm 100% sure it will still be optimal at higher levels of play. Now, I've shared many aspects I appreciate about Marvel Tokon, but I'd like to start addressing the criticisms I have, beginning with the quick tag button. The original button layout for Marvel Tokon was that you had your light, medium, and heavy attack buttons, the unique attack and assemble inputs, and extra macro buttons if you wanted the quick skill for doing easy input specials and supers, quick assemble if you wanted to easily do assemble smash and assemble counter with one button, and quick dash for an easy input dash. This button layout was great because the developers wanted to minimize the number of buttons required. Generally in fighting games, you only want to use 5 to 6 buttons because it's just way more comfortable. Having too many important buttons on a layout just turns players away. In Tokon, your normal and special attacks are the most important, with a total of 5 buttons. With these 5 buttons alone, you can do everything in this game. And even better, if players wanted to use one of these macros because it fits their playstyle, that's perfectly fine because at that point, you would be using 6 buttons, which is the perfect amount you need for a fighting game. Unfortunately, the developers recently added another vital button to the game called Quick Tag, which is now the only button you can use to switch characters at round start and add the tag into characters in the middle of a match. The assemble button was originally where you could use assist, after tag, and switch between characters, and it was a really cool idea to put all of that in one button to minimize the button layout. But it seems that in the feedback forums they received, some players felt it was hard to distinguish between assist and member change, and that unintended character switches occurred for some of these players because assist was assigned to the same button. Basically, it sounds like these players didn't understand the timing that was required for the assemble button. Simply tapping the assemble button would call out assist, and holding it would switch characters if an assist is out in the field. I think this is something that players would have gotten over time when the game released, so there was no reason to really change it in my opinion. Now technically, the buttons in this game are fine considering the fact that it's a 6-button fighter since light, medium, heavy, unique, assemble, and quick tag are all the important buttons you need in the game, but most people are using other buttons in their control schemes like dash, macros, or the quick skill button to do easy input specials and supers, so it ends up basically being a 7-button fighter, which is a little too much for a lot of us. It would be smart to give players the option to tag with the assemble button so that quick tag is one extra button they don't have to worry about. And for my last criticism of the new build, I want to get into the crossover mechanic. Pressing the light and assemble buttons at the same time while blocking an attack will use one assemble gauge to get the opponent off of you. Sounds nice, but the opponent can use a perfect crossover reflect to counter your crossover, and it will make you completely unable to use your assist for a very long time. The opponent only needs 1 bar of the assemble gauge to do this, by the way. The problem that I have with perfect crossover reflect is that once players start getting really good at timing it, what would be the point of using the crossover mechanic? I suppose if your opponent doesn't have any assemble gauge left, that would be a great time to do it, but players will rarely start offense with no assemble meter. Having the ability to use assist and perfect crossover reflect is what will make your offense very strong in Tokon, and it's the reason why you don't start off with a fully unlocked team and assemble gauge right off the bat. So yeah, I'm not really sure what the developers should do with this. I was thinking maybe they should just completely remove perfect crossover reflect entirely, but maybe there are better ideas. For all I know, I might be completely wrong about this mechanic, so if anyone watching this video can clarify anything for me in the comments, that would be fantastic. At the end of the day, I had so much fun with Marvel Tokon and Combo Breaker, and I wish I could have the game in my hands right now. Despite my criticisms, Tokon has a solid foundation at the moment. An innovative 4v4 game with a diverse cast that is easy to play at a basic level, but is also filled with so much depth? Sign me right up. I've seen this game's newfound creativity all weekend, and I witnessed people's excitement as they played Tokon and walked out wanting more. The best thing about it, the game is only gonna get better. But let me know what you guys are thinking. If any of you played Tokon and Combo Breaker, what did y'all think? And for any new viewers watching, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. I make Marvel Tokon videos weekly, so if that sounds awesome to you, join the family. And as always, Tokon Bros, from me to you, have yourself a blessed day.